And we're live.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
Not too bad. I've got a new Agora Pulse mug, by the way. Ooh.
I can kind of see it. Was that from something that was that from a conference you went to?
No, it was it was a free gift from Agora Pulse because I spoke at their UK online conference thing, What's Up Social. So they gave everybody a free mug, a free T-shirt, a book, notebook.
Oh, wow.
So it's basically freebies, basically. So
you know, today is actually Social Media Day San Diego.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they're doing it all online, obviously for the first time ever. So I've been able to kind of click on a few people who are attending and see what they're looking at. It looks really neat. I'm a big fan of Social Media Day San Diego.
Yeah.
I love what you do.
I mean, I was having a discussion with somebody today about what I thought about online versus offline conferences, and I must admit I'm more of a fan of online or of offline, like real IRL conferences,
in-person conferences, like actually.
Yeah, I would say that if you're starting off with a particular topic or subject, then actually I think online conferences are better for learning.
Okay.
By miles, actually, but they're not. There's just no social element to most of them, and that's not. I mean, it's possible to do it with online conferences, but the problem is you get just too many people in a room or location or thing. I mean, those Zoom conferences with like 500 people in them, and you're not really getting any, like, even more than about 20 people. Because the thing is, like in a conference, a real live conference, you're not just going there, not interacting with anybody, going into the room, sitting in a room, watching somebody speak, and then come out. But that is what an online conference is like.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's things they can try and do about that, and you can have like Zoom drinks and all the rest of it. I mean, actually, I saw somebody do an event around the Atomicon online event where they put people into separate Zoom rooms, and that worked quite well. So,
I've experienced that. I've experienced Zoom rooms, and they work quite well if you want to kind of do a smaller group and get to know people versus.
But even there, you're quite limited because you can't kind of go up to somebody in the same way that you can in a real thing. If you're interested in, like, you want to talk to somebody or talk to a speaker afterwards, I mean, obviously you can do that if you've got like a Facebook group or something along those lines to some extent anyway.
Yeah.
But then again, like, Facebook groups are there anyway most of the time. So
you've done some really good networking at conferences. I've seen the pictures you've taken with people. We've met people here even in our Oh No Not another live show that you've met at conferences. So you've done some really good networking. It's interesting to watch how you've gone to many conferences and met so many people literally around the world.
Yeah, well, the funny thing was that the first couple of conferences I went to, I didn't really know anybody in. I was kind of a shy, retiring sort of flower person on the side. But you get used to it. I think there's a level of, I think what helps is to have a few people you know going to a conference. Because even now, if I go to a conference, I don't know anybody there at all. It can be quite hard to go up to brand new people. But the best way to meet people in any kind of social gathering is if they're in a group with people you already know. So let's say, I'm trying to think of one of our guests who's got an easy to remember name. I was trying to say Jennifer Quattrucci Trino.
Jennifer, and then
Quattrucci. Well, let's say she was in a group with two other people you didn't know. You could go up to it and say, "Oh, hi, you're on my show," and then you can introduce yourself to the two other people. That's a lot easier situation than going to a group of 3 people you don't know any of them. So it helps to go. I mean, the obvious problem is you end up in then a clique of people who they just hang out all together at conferences. And I've been in those sort of cliques for a while, and they're very nice until you upset somebody, and then they basically evict you from it, or you actually realise they're full of a load of narcissists, which is often what happens. Is they've got their kind of tribe of people that follow them around. So it's a difficult, it's a difficult balance to get right. But I mean, one of my networking tips actually is to favour going towards groups rather than individuals, because a lot of the time people will say find somebody on their own and talk to them. But the problem is often there's a reason why people are on their own. Either they're deliberately trying to avoid people, they've got stomach issues or something, or their dog's just died and they don't want to be talking to people. And it's also quite intimidating to people who are introverts if just somebody bundles up and says, "Oh, hello." And I think you're better off. The best thing is to go for groups of 3 or 4 people where one of the people looks really, really bored. That's the best tip I could give to anybody in terms of networking, because often you'll get like a conversation between like 3 people. And one of the people will be really interested in what the other person is, and the other person's bored because it's not a topic that concerns them. And if you go in and you kind of stand there and join the conversation, then that gives you somebody to talk to instantaneously. And it's not as awkward as just basically sort of say, "Hello, I'm Christelle."
I mean, this is kind of networking 101 for any place we go to and want to network, whether it's business networking, real estate, blogging, blog moms or blogging world. I think those are good tips for all of it. Did you write about this in your social media book?
I did a little bit, not specifically to do with the networking and because this is IRL in the real world, in real life. I mean, social media networking is more about doing it online, obviously. I mean, the best way I think to do social media networking is if somebody, somebody's in the comments now. I don't know who it is. We're not in the comments, but somebody's watching the show now, or they were.
Hello.
The best way by far to make an impact on somebody is to watch and comment on their live show.
By the way,
more than anything else,
I have to make it. My goal is to make it to Tim and Jim's show, and I'm probably getting it wrong how I'm saying it. I have to get to Tim and Jim's show because they've been so wonderful about coming to ours and watching. And I found out Tim is actually producing. And what is he doing? He's producing a fundraiser in Leucadia, which is a very small, adorable city, kind of doing their own thing in San Diego. You would love it, Tim. By the way, next time you come to San Diego, I don't know if you've made it to Leucadia. Adorable little tiny surfer town off the beaten path. Actually, I would love to live there, but it's off the beaten path, probably 30 minutes of where you normally go. Still in San Diego County, but Tim is, I just found out, he's producing a show for a fundraiser for this little tiny area called Leucadia in San Diego. So that was cool. He didn't realize, I don't think Leucadia was in San Diego until he kind of sent me the information. So that's how networking works. I mean, really, he tells me that there's this event happening in Leucadia. I tell him, "Oh, did you know that's part of San Diego?" "No." "You know what? Let me put you in touch with some people." You get this whole kind of roundabout friendship thing going on when you meet and network with really neat people who are doing things and moving and shaking. So, Tim, okay, this is what I want you to do. One time you asked me about my book and you asked me to talk about it and tell me where it is. I want to hear about your social media book, and maybe you can kind of sell it to us. Tell us more about it. Tell us about the stories, what your vision was.
Well, yeah, it's like, oh, now you're putting me on the spot. I put you on the spot. Yeah, well, I actually wrote in 2018. I mean, you could make a question about what the hell I was doing last year and this year, but that's a whole nother matter. But it occurred to me that despite being massively interested in self-publishing and writing fantasy and time travel books that I wasn't especially good at the marketing of books. However, I was really good at networking and making connections, and especially social media networking. So I thought, and the more I talked to people in my network about it, I thought, well, maybe there's like potential for a book here. So I put a Facebook post up saying, look, I'm looking for stories about how people have used social media to get ahead in their career, in romance, and also for getting basically career advancement or getting business opportunities. And expecting like 3 or 4 replies. I had about 50 replies, I think, people saying. So, I mean, people aren't doing it. I mean, this is the thing. People are getting ahead by connections they made on social media, especially in careers, actually. I mean, careers area, the dominant area story. People getting jobs from people they knew from social media. Now, a little bit of that is biased by the fact that I know a lot of people who work in social media marketing. So a lot of people in social media marketing are going to get jobs through social media anyway.
Yeah.
But that was a whole. So I interviewed 20 people. I recorded their interviews. Originally, I was going to create an audio book first and then get it transcribed. But in the end, I never created the audio book for various reasons. And it's basically 20 interviews with people who, for a variety of ways, have managed to use social media to get ahead. So they've got job opportunities, they've got promotion. A lot of people got speaking opportunities from social media, media opportunities. So they've been like got into newspapers. That's a popular one. That's a very good way to actually use social media. Like in the UK, there's like hashtag PR request.
Yeah.
And you can look at that, and that's PR people asking for like people to. So if you run a campsite or something, and then there's somebody looking for somebody to talk about campsites in the lockdown, then if you see that, you can respond, and then they'll feature you in their newspaper or camping magazine or whatever. There's loads of people done that kind of stuff. There's also people that have met old flames on Facebook, and I got back with them. Somebody met somebody on MySpace. There's all sorts of there's all sorts of great stories in there about how people have used social media to get network. What I've done as well, at the start of the book, I've given a brief description about how to use social media in general, and basically like how the networks work and how people use them. Not like a couple of chapters. It's not like this is an introduction to social media, but it actually does work in that way. And then at the end of the book, after the interviews, I've done basically the lessons that I've learned from the interviews. So how you can consider using social media. And in there, I do include some networking tips. So try to think of so long. This is the great thing about not writing books that often. You forget. I mean, this is one of the things that people who don't write books don't know. You forget what's in your books. I mean, like, it's funny. Like, I was rereading one of my time travel books for some reason. I can't remember. I think it was the formatting. I was thinking, like, I don't remember writing that. I don't remember that character.
So, which, by the way, you sent copies to the nonprofit that I was looking at. So thank you for that. I don't know if I publicly thanked you, but that was huge. Our students were so thrilled about it, to have something to read and something new. So thank you for that. But back to your social media book. I'm intrigued because you interviewed a whole bunch of social media professionals, and I'm curious now how you chose from the huge list that kind of responded.
Well, a lot of it was people not getting back, or their story wasn't particularly good. It's mainly like you get a lot of like anything where people say they'll do something. It's like at least half the people don't do it. So in the end, I was down to about 22. In the end, one person dropped out for whatever reason right before the end. So yeah, I mean, they were the best stories, but there were other people, and there were other stories I heard afterwards, and I'm like, well, if you told me beforehand,
Yeah.
Some people there was a couple of people who I was going to have in the book, but they can never arrange an appointment. They were just too busy all the time. So, yeah, it's interesting writing an interview-based book. It's a different structure to. I mean, one of the good things about writing an interview-based book is that most of the content is not stuff you've created. You just get other people's things.
Absolutely.
I mean, I saw it was roughly based on a programming book that I saw somebody promote at programming conferences years ago, where they did like 99 best programming tips or something rather like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just 99 tips from other people that they included in the book. But it's much more of a project because you've kind of got to make sure promotion-wise that people do it at the right time. I didn't do it as well as I should have done. I mean, the book did all right. I mean, it didn't do. It wasn't a huge global bestseller, but it sold reasonably, and it was more written actually to allow me to start speaking about social media more. And it served well for that purpose. I mean, I got a couple of speaking gigs because I'd written the book. Yeah.
Tim just popped in. Tim, we were talking earlier a little bit about your what you're doing with this fundraiser in San Diego County. So that's super cool, Tim.
Well, he's only across the pond from me.
He's forgetting that I'm in San Diego, maybe.
Or maybe he thinks there's maybe the middle of the US is flooded. You don't know.
It could be. He is all the way across the United States from me, so it's almost just as far. I think it's an 8-hour flight. I think.
No, I think it's 6 or 7. I think it's like 8 hours from Boston, but Pennsylvania would be like 6 or 7 hours. Okay. I've done that JetBlue flight actually. It's one of my. I like JetBlue, assuming they still survive, which is.
JetBlue. I flew from San Diego to Pennsylvania at one point. I was in a wedding out there. 6 hours. Oh, 6 hours. Okay. And he would probably from San Diego. What is it now? Social media marketing world.
Yeah, I mean it's a time difference is because you're going 3 hours back. Oh, okay. So it would only be 3 hours in total.
Tim says this is what he's talking about. So excited to be part of Lucadiade 2020. I wonder if you could put the link in, Tim. We could have it up on our show for you, and I could kind of maybe mark it for some of my San Diego friends. Lucadiade is.
Lucadiade sounds like leukemia to me.
It's Lucadia. So the city is Lucadia, and it's really a hidden gem in San Diego. Literally a tiny little beach town off the beaten path, in between Encinitas and Carlsbad. Adorable. Carlsbad?
I'm gonna get a map
I'm
up.
getting the map wrong a little bit.
You keep talking.
It's adorable. Definitely support Lucadiade. That's hard to say. 2020. Supporting themselves, probably. I mean, little restaurants, locally owned bookstores, shops. Deets on Lucadia, 101 Main Street Associations. There's the link. There we go. So excited that that's so cool, Tim. So excited.
It's a right and almost impossible link to remember, but it's in the comments to anyone who wants to see it. He's producing what they're doing online to make to do this fundraiser for Lucadia. So that's so neat, and that goes along with what you're talking about with your social media. World. This is Lucadia is up here. I think. Lucadia, and then San Diego is down here.
Yeah, it's about
LA is it's about a third of the way to LA, isn't it?
So it's still San Diego County. It's about 30 from where I live now. It's probably might be 45 minutes. Where I used to live in Pacific Beach, probably 30 minutes, depending on traffic, 25, 30 minutes. He's producing from my basement in Pennsylvania. That is so cool. That is the power of social media right there, that he's producing a show to take place in Lucadia near me. all the way from Pennsylvania, and networking. Well, that just proves that Tim is good at networking, because he's putting it on with, recognize the name. He's actually shouted the name out, who he's putting the show on with. But I'm forgetting who it is now. But yeah, that's cool. So your book, Tim, going back to your book that you were talking about, you did the interviews. Yeah. We can still purchase it though.
Yes, you can. Funnily enough, it's under Tim Lewis, when all my other books are under my full name of Timothy Michael Lewis.
Okay.
I think really I should have used a pen name with all of my books. There's so many Tim Lewises on Amazon. But yeah, Social Media Networking by Tim Lewis. And let me do a screen share. What have I actually got?
Yeah, screen share it. And I'm so curious. You know, I need to purchase that book.
Yes, you do.
I do. I need to purchase. I want to read the stories. And I bet, are any of the people that we've interviewed in your book?
I'm trying to think. Who we interviewed? I don't think any of them are, actually. I think I will get some of them on.
Deb, was Deb in the book? We interviewed Deb, I believe.
No, she wasn't.
Okay. You're about to put your link up?
Yes.
Here it is. This is success. There it is. Social media networking. How to use social media to get the job you want, find love, get business success, and boost your travel. Okay, for me, boost your travel is key. Travel experience. Boost your travel experience. That's key for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's. I mean, that's actually the bit that I've done the most from the book. Well, not from the book, but. So whenever I'm visiting like a lot of the US states, I make an effort to try and stay or basically, well, not stay with necessarily, but meet up with people in that particular state.
Yeah, I've noticed
So when I went to Georgia and Atlanta, I met up with Jim Hughes and his wife, and also a few other people. Actually, the one, Catherine Carrigan, is one of the people in the book. I think she's in the book.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it makes, I'm going to stop screaming that because for some reason it's making me go weird looking at my own book. What was I going to say? Yeah, for me, I'm not somebody, I'm strange because I like solo travel, but I don't like the loneliness of solo travel, if that makes sense.
I completely understand.
I'm not somebody who can go to a new city and then just walk into a bar and basically meet random people and talk to them.
Yeah.
A lot of that is because in London, that's just not something you would do. Funny enough, in most of the rest of the world, you can do that kind of thing, but not in London. It's very
more reserved.
Yeah, well, it's just like you just don't do it. You just don't talk to strangers. It's like. Ironically, the somewhat normal London spirit is very much social isolation, social distancing, just by normal.
Naturally.
But if you know, but then again, if you go in a group of like, especially a large group of people, then you end up on this kind of itinerary where you're just dragged around places, unless you're arranging it. And then if you're arranging the group itinerary, then it's quite stressful because you've got a whole load of people to go around.
Okay.
Things like restaurants, you have to book ahead because there's so many people in the group. If it's all male party, then there's a lot of places that won't let you in necessarily, depending on the thing. So for me, the magic compromise is when you know people in a place and they live there and you're traveling on your own, because you get the best of both worlds, in my opinion. So
well, here's the thing, Tim, when you came to San Diego, you were quite the social butterfly, I must say.
Yeah.
You had meetings every hour on the hour. I think I got you for one when we met in person. Finally, I got you for 1 hour, and we chatted.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it was just happened that like you can meet up at a time, and there was a meetup I was going to like an hour later. I wasn't literally doing like an hour. It's like, here you go, Christelle, here's your hour slot.
Social butterfly. He is a social butterfly. Tim Sohn agrees with me. You're a social butterfly.
well, strictly speaking, I don't need to go to Pennsylvania because I went to Philadelphia for Podcast Movement 2 years ago. However, I didn't see any of visit Philadelphia at all, and I might well go back to Philadelphia because it's the easiest way to get to Delaware, which I haven't been to.
Okay.
So, can you travel to the US now? I think, strictly speaking, yes, but it's not advised. So, if I had any accident, then the travel insurance company could say that they wouldn't pay up. So I probably wouldn't right now.
I think technically we can travel. But UK and US is saying if you travel, you need to quarantine for 14 days. And then a lot of workplace.
You need to quarantine both sides.
What was that?
So if you travel to the UK now, you'd have to quarantine for 14 days in the UK. Then when you came back, you'd have to quarantine for 14 days in the US.
Correct.
And also, I think the flight ban, is the flight ban still on between that Trump brought in between Europe and the US?
Yeah, I don't know. At one point we couldn't, that we were restricting each other from flying over to each other's countries. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, well, as Tim says in the comments, I'll bring up, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and New York and New Jersey as well, I think, have got their own mini quarantine. So you can't, if you went to visit Tim Sohn, you'd have to be in 14-day quarantine.
California is one of the highest COVID rates. So I don't know that anyone wants to be coming over here. I'm kind of a little bit naturally somewhat quarantining still. There's things I have to get done, like my car needed to get fixed today. Semi-quarantining, not as much as I was, but we are a high-risk area here, and so I'm being cautious.
I've got a question because it's something that's I think is a difference between what has been pushed in the UK as opposed to the US. In as much as do you think the common populace in the US have got the message that if they've got symptoms like a cough or a temperature that they should self-isolate and get a test? Or do you think that it's just because, to me, all of the social media and stuff I see out of the US is just everybody's either obsessed with making out it's a hoax or they're obsessed with masks. And the biggest thing that makes the difference really is people self-isolating when they've got symptoms more than like any other, and social distancing as well. But
I'll be a little bit controversial. Maybe Tim Sohn will have an idea that's different than mine. In California and San Diego, people are out and about.
Yeah.
Our state has, I believe, opened up completely, with the exception of so we've opened up, but we're taking precautions, supposedly. So in stores, they have it so that you can only go one way down certain aisles.
Yeah.
They also have stickers on the ground so that you're 6 feet apart from everybody. And it is mandatory in California to wear a mask. I believe you can get fined. I'm not quite sure if that's true. People are out and about. The parks are reopened. The beaches are reopened. Traffic is back. As far as self-isolating, I haven't received that message, but I haven't been watching the news as much. I kind of get pop-ups on my Facebook. I know that in the beginning, it was very much, very, very cautionary. If you are coughing, if you feel sick at all, stay home for 14 days. See if you're okay. Let's see. Tim Sohn is saying, yes, the sticker business is booming. Here in the US, it seems like everything is mostly back to normal, at least in Pennsylvania. Restaurants can only open, I think, to 50%. Yes, the sticker business is booming. I think that's California as well.
Yeah. Well, I could be wrong about the UK because we had about a week or two when the whole thing was basically like, if you've got symptoms, stay at home, wash your hands, stay 2 meters apart. And then we had the lockdown and lots of people accused them of locking down too late and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that one of the advantages is it's not, the message isn't quite as confused as what I see from people in the US Like
It's so
it's all
confusing.
over the shop. And the problem is you've got every state seems to have different advice and different thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that whole self-isolate thing, if you've got, I mean, this was the thing that I noticed, and the trouble is this is anecdotal, and obviously where I am located in London is not the centre of London. It's kind of, I'm zone 4 in northeast London, so I'm about 45 minutes by tube outside the centre of London. But when I went to the US in end of February, March, amount of coughing there was in airports and just in general everywhere in the US was phenomenal compared to London. I mean, even going on the tube and everything, there wasn't the amount of people coughing that there was as in the US. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I think everybody's like this. It's become very political in the US, the whole COVID thing.
It's become political. Everything has become political. The past 3 months, everything has become political. And if you state your opinion, it's just so political that there's naturally going to be this kind of angry disagreement. I will say it seems like the states that have completely opened up, our COVID rates are rising much higher. So there has to be a significant reason why that's.
Well, I mean, that's common sense. I mean, the more you're going to meet people, but the problem with a lockdown is that obviously a lockdown, it's not going to stop. It's just going to freeze basically everything as it is, and it's going to kill the economy off.
Absolutely. We have, I mean, every state is having to decide based on that. But for the most part, we have opened up. And Tim would like to talk about donuts. And we're still trying to get Tim to be an ambassador for Dunkin.
I know. I mean, that is the real scandal.
Let's
talk about it. I mean,
they need to sponsor the Tim and Jim show. Is it the Jim and Tim show or the Tim and Jim show?
Jim and Tim.
Show. Dunkin needs to be a sponsor. We're gonna help with that one.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was, I have got a quiz of a kind, assuming I can work out how to set it up. But I was trying to. There's a theme in the quiz, which I'll start off with really hard, and then it'll be.
Well, I'm no longer getting anxiety when you give me the quizzes. I'm okay now. I was getting anxiety.
I was looking. To give you a bit of a clue in advance, I was looking to get the number of Dunkin Donut shops by state. But unfortunately, that information you have to pay like $80 for.
My goodness.
It's like there's this site I found with all these statistics on it, and then it's like some of the statistics are free, but then it's like that is a paid. You could add it up. I mean, they've got them on the Dunkin Donuts website, but I couldn't be bothered to go through and like add them all up. So
I mean, Southern California was becoming a donut haven for a while. It became a big foodie donut destination. Where I think I talked about this a couple shows ago. Incredible donuts. They were massive, candy, cookies, everything on top. I ended up taking my boys to a famous donut shop in Los Angeles where they filmed several movies. I don't remember the name of it right now off the top of my head, but there's quite a few. I think Back to the Future might have made an appearance there. I'm forgetting.
There's one town somewhere near LA where it's the same square that they shot Back to the Future in, and they've used it in quite a few films.
It's the one. It has a giant donut, old-fashioned donut shop, really cute. I took my boys there just for the fun of it and to see. They wanted to see the Hollywood sign. They wanted to go to the Bat Caves, and we hit up that donut shop and a couple other foodie destinations. Oh gosh.
It's actually quite hard to see the Hollywood sign from Hollywood Boulevard, isn't it? When I went to Hollywood Boulevard, which is a bit of a dump, to be honest, I stayed in the Laos Hotel next to the Dolby Theatre. And it's really hard to see the Hollywood sign from Hollywood.
Yeah.
I did a bus tour, and then you could see it from the corner. Like you have to go right up in the hills, basically, to see the Hollywood sign.
We went on a hike up there, and then we went to the observatory right next to it. A great day trip is, if you're anywhere in the vicinity or if you happen to be traveling this way, a great day trip is visiting the Hollywood sign. Google the Bat Caves, because that's kind of something people don't talk about or know necessarily about, but it's at the bottom. If you're to hike up to the Hollywood sign, hidden away is the Bat Caves, where they used to film old Batman shows. and other movies have been filmed there. And then on the other side of the mountain is the observatory. So it's a great day trip. It's a great day trip. I recommend. And then find a fun foodie destination and go. It's just fun. Okay, quiz. Did you say you have a quiz?
Yes, I'm trying to work out. This might be a element of winging it. So,
winging it. I have my ginger ale today.
I'm quite sure. Right. This is. I'm going to need a pen and paper.
Yes, what the blue states represent.
The theme of this quiz is that I have 3 maps, and they are the top 10 states for something in the US. So this is map A, which I should have put A on. I was going to see if I can have them all up, but I don't think I can. So make a mental note of this. This is map A. So this is the top 10. Well, or in this case, these are the only 10 states that have this particular thing.
Am I going to get a hint? Like, is it like food or is it?
Well, this is population.
That has something.
Yeah, these. Well, all right. Let's just do it like one at a time then. What I was gonna do is show you all 3, and then I was gonna give you 3 things, and you put them on the map. So that's probably too easy. So we'll try it this way. If you can't get it, we'll do that in the end.
Okay.
So some hints for this one. This is to do with population and the people in these states. But these states have a particular population thing that none of the other states have. It's a demographic, if you like.
A particular population that none of the other states have.
Or a particular attribute to the population of the people in these states.
Oh, I need help.
So it's you can't really see it, but it's Alaska and Hawaii are 2 of the states. Colorado, Nevada.
Fishing.
Sorry?
Fishing.
Nope. Well, I mean, people fish in the other states as well. So.
I know, but I'm thinking these are big fishing states.
No, this one, like all the other states have a particular attribute to their population. These states don't, and vice versa.
I mean, I don't even know what to think.
Do we have any guesses from? Do we have anybody watching? That's the thing.
I think I need another hint.
I'll tell you what. Shall we go on to the next one?
Yeah, I'm not even sure where to go with this.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I'll try and remember which one. Oh, yeah, I know which one this is. This is a top 10 one. And if you think about this was the one I did this one, and then I looked at the Dunkin Donuts thing. So it's a similar one, but a different store. This is the top 10 states with the most of a particular famous US brand store in. Just a question, which one?
Okay. Is it related to food or something else?
Everything. They sell everything.
They sell everything.
Well, not quite everything, but not
they sell everything. Oh my goodness. What sells in Nevada, Texas?
It's a number of stores of this particular brand. These are I'm surprised that California wasn't in it, actually.
You're surprised California wasn't in it, and they sell.
I think this is the right one, actually. Check that.
Brand, and they sell a lot of it. Like Sears.
Nope. Does Sears even exist anymore?
I don't know. I'm showing my age. JC Penney's. Oh man. Help. I need help. Where's my helpers when I need them?
Even I'm beginning to wonder if California should be in this list. Let me have it go to the website. Well, let's face it. There are what is the most ubiquitous? Yeah,
Costco.
What is the most ubiquitous US store apart from Target? So it's not Target.
Walmart.
Walmart. Yeah.
Walmart. Okay.
I'm
Tim,
just checking. I miss California out.
Tim, you're surprised. You know more about the U.S. than I do half the time.
Yeah, it's got. Why did I miss California? Oh. California should be on here. So this is plus California.
Well, regardless, I would like to know. I think if I gave you a U.S. quiz, you would probably know more than I do, honestly.
I'm wondering if I've actually got the maps mixed up.
Well,
what the hell was this map for? I'm trying to remember what the first map was. Oh no, this is a different map. This isn't the Walmart one.
This is not Walmart.
It's not the Walmart one.
Was Walmart?
Oh, this is the worst quiz ever. Well, this is to do with a per head consumption of a particular thing. These are the highest consuming places of a particular thing.
No.
Well, it's not a food as well, more drink.
Oh, drink. Okay. Wisconsin beer.
Yeah, these are the per capita.
The only reason was because Wisconsin was on there, and they're the capital of what beer brand?
Is it Budweiser?
Is it Budweiser? One of those.
Oh, Miller. It's Miller.
Miller. Yeah, it's beer. Okay.
Right. Well, that's kind of ruined that. And
I'm surprised California.
I might as well bring up the Walmart map anyway, if I can work out how to do it.
Well, this is here.
Stop screen, and I want to share an application window. This was the Walmart highest, biggest store. Ironically, Texas has got the most number of Walmarts by far.
Texas is a state.
I know, but I would always expect California to.
So beer, that makes sense.
These are the Walmart. So Florida's got more Walmarts than you can't really see it. The initials are a bit small there, but
Texas with 516 stores is followed by Florida and California. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's Missouri's got a load of but apparently there's all these weird like San Antonio has got a huge number of Walmarts.
Can I just say something about Walmart? When I was working at the nonprofit previously, I found out that Walmart gives away money to nonprofits in their area. So individual Walmart stores have money to give away to help their community.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. They're actually giving back to their communities over and over and over. Most people don't know that. You can actually write your individual Walmart or go in and meet the manager and ask if they'd be willing to donate to your particular organization or charity. So Walmart gives back a lot. Again, it's something I learned kind of building partnerships and doing outreach. It's a beautiful thing. And then they also do Target and Walmart volunteer in community organizations. So that's another thing to remember. Both stores give back a lot. And I've been very impressed with Target, especially in recent months, with a lot of things they've done in the community. So yeah, I found out a lot with their nonprofit world here in those two stores in particular.
I was just going to tell you what this was. These are the only US states where there are more men than women in them.
I would never have guessed that. Never.
I don't even know why I thought of I was thinking like, well, what can I do research on? And it's like I think, oh, what is the male female ratio?
Montana. That's okay. I don't.
Hawaii and Alaska are both more men than women, and like I think a lot of it's to do with like oil and other like industries that are very male dominated tend to be in those areas. But it's interesting that none of them are on the East Coast.
I see Montana. It's a very big kind of rural state. It's lots of land.
Yeah.
Wide open space. I see Nevada. I mean, I guess I can see that.
I mean, Colorado and Nevada are probably the biggest surprises there, I would say. But somebody told me that Denver had the nickname of Menver, though. So apparently there is like way more men than women in Denver.
In Denver.
So Denver's Denver.
I want to know why. We don't know why. I'm curious as to why. Is it the industry? Is it business?
I don't know. Was it only? But yeah. So it seems like that's an interesting, if slightly useless fact that we heard about the US geography.
Well, I don't know.
But yeah, it's only 10 states. 40 of them have. Though apparently there's loads that are on the margins. So like Idaho is almost exactly. It's about 0.1% more, and there's loads of US states where it's 0.1% more women than men. So,
okay.
But next week we'll do the top 10 women.
All the women. They must be in all the other states.
Yeah.
Where are you curious in England where the most men live? If the demographics throughout.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked that up. I think a lot of the problem in London is that you just don't really have much contact with a lot of the local population because it's all very, because it's commute. Well, I mean, I'm sure this is similar to some extent in places like LA and San Diego and New York. Certainly, New York's very similar to London, in as much as a lot of people tend to meet in the centre of it. So, like, I would typically have met a lot of the friends I had from university who lived all over London. I would meet them in the centre. But the trouble is with lockdown, because the tube's been, well, it's never been shut, but you've been discouraged from using it unless you're an essential worker. And also the pubs are going to reopen on the 4th of July for some reason. I don't know if American Independence Day.
That doesn't make sense.
They've also brought in this 1 meter plus rule, which is very confusing in the UK. Because we had 2 meters, which is just over 6 foot. It's about 6 foot.
Now you can be 1 meter.
Something like that. I know you've got your 6 foot social isolation rule in the US, but to let the pubs open to some kind of normal level of service, they've said that you should try and keep to 2 meters, unless you can't keep to 2 meters, in which case you can go to 1 meter. As long as you're in a place that takes precautions, which can include having glass screens and wearing masks and all the rest of it, which is a cop-out, really. It's basically they can't open the pubs with the 2 meter rule because most of them wouldn't open because they wouldn't have enough customers to work. So they brought in this fudge and that's coming in from the 4th of July as well. So, and we're getting hairdressers as well open. So
ours already open, Tim. Our hairdressers are working. Our bars are open.
Well, this is the thing in the US. You all just come out of lockdown instantaneously. Like everything's opened at once, and it's not because it's kind of like, well, all the spike. You can't work out what caused it because
it was bam.
Yeah.
I know.
And then you're all out demonstrating and partying and all the rest of it in the streets as well. So
it's true.
I mean. I know you can't take single days figure, but a number of cases doubled between today and yesterday, and the day before. Could be just a reporting thing. Yeah. But I do wonder because the weather here has been stupidly hot. And they've heard a big thing about people going to the beaches and not respecting social distancing and all the rest of it.
How is are your numbers rising as well? Doubling? Or are they staying consistent? Because for the most part, still,
until today, they've been falling. Well, the funny thing is they were level for about 2 weeks, and then this week they've been falling quite a lot, and now it's just jumped up to about the level it was at the start of the week. So you can't tell. That could be a blip. I mean, this is the problem with the testing thing. You don't know if it's to do with the fact that the people doing the tests have got back all the test results of a particular day. I mean, this is the problem with the numbers. It's very hard. I've tried to look at the UK statistics, and they report a number of new cases, but when the test was done could be like from 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So the fact there's like 1,000 people today, yesterday there was 600 new cases, and today there's like 1,000. That could be just the fact that they had a backlog of people in the testing capacity, and they've only got around to testing those 1,000 today. So it's very hard to interpret the figures. So they keep using these 7-day rolling averages, but it's not a good sign in my opinion.
Have you heard anything about a vaccine coming out?
Well, there's two UK vaccine trials going on, and I think there's 3 in the US. I think there's one in China as well. I mean, the problem with vaccines is, well, there's 2 problems. One, they can't, much as they would like to roll out like potential vaccines to everybody, they have to do the test because they don't want to accidentally make the world population infertile or something by giving everybody a vaccine. Yeah. It cures COVID, but unfortunately we just kill the entire world population by making everybody infertile.
Do you remember that movie? What was that movie where a vaccine did that very thing? What movie was that? There was some movie that terrified me.
Well, there was Children of Men, which had that premise that everybody had gone infertile. But I don't think they ever had a reason why in that. It was just this one woman who was the only pregnant woman in the world, and it was trying to save her, sort of thing.
That caused, I want to say it was Will Smith in it. Was it Will Smith? And I think a vaccine caused zombies or something.
Oh no, that's what's it called? It's a remake of an old film. I know the one you talk about. Yeah, I can't remember.
I mean, I feel like
let me go to IMDb and Will Smith.
Will Smith. I feel like that.
It's like it's sort of like The Last Man on Earth or something. Oh,
I don't know, and I feel like we're living in that somewhere between that movie and.
Well, apparently they had 2 endings to that film, where one was happy and one was sad, a sad one, and they went with a happy one in the end. But the original cut was. This is the funny thing. I can remember the fact there were 2 endings to it, but I can't remember the name of the. I Am Legend. That's the one.
I Am Legend. Wasn't that based on something like a vaccine went haywire, or?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was. Well, but again, it's kind of like you don't know, like. And the other thing is that they say they have to give it to a trial group because different ethnic groups could have different reactions to it. Different men and women could have different
blood type, possibly different. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of people with other taking particular drugs could have had a reaction to it. So there's so many things where they can't really rush it out. But the funny thing is, apparently, in China, they've been testing a vaccine, but they were having trouble testing it because they didn't have enough people with the COVID to actually know if it was effective or not.
Oh.
But now they've got a big outbreak in Beijing again, so they're probably happily. The vaccine people are happy, if nothing else. There
are people doing it for a second time.
Nobody. This again. There's lots of these things about COVID which nobody seems to know. I mean, they think that it's almost likely that people who've had it have some kind of immunity, but it may not be immunity for like more than a month or so, or it might be a couple of years immunity. If people are immune for like 2 years, then that's in effect immunity, really. But if they're only immune for a month, they have it again. But they don't know. They keep, and the trouble is, again, they have to spend time with people to see whether they get reinfected.
Yeah.
So they won't know for sure until people they've been tracking. They only started doing the tracking things about a month ago. So
the news I read yesterday, I believe it was Dr. Fauci. Is that his name?
yeah.
He said that he's expecting a vaccine by December of this year or very early 2021.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a number of potential things, because the other problem with vaccines is obviously they're skipping a lot of the stages they would do apparently in the testing just to get them out. So there's 2 being tested in the UK, and I think there's at least 1 or 2 in the US being tested. There's one from Imperial College that they've started testing, but the good thing about that one, as opposed to the Oxford University one, which they've been testing for a while, is that the Imperial College one isn't a virus-based one. It's basically just something they manufacture. They use it like they synthetically generate these kind of antibody things that kill it off, so that one can be mass produced easily, while the Oxford one can't. So that one, in a way, even though it started later than the other one, might be the one that's used, because you can see that a vaccine, you don't need necessarily to be able to vaccinate the entire world. If you could vaccinate, say, like truckers, people who commute a lot, people who travel a lot, everybody who's traveling, if you vaccinate everybody who travels between countries, then you manage to isolate like individual countries for one, or even states. I mean, it'd be hard to do it in the US, but if you go
medical professionals, travelers.
Well, yeah. So you don't necessarily, I mean, if you're intelligent about it, they don't really need to vaccinate the entire world. It probably would go that way because everybody would want a vaccine. This is something everybody would want one straight away. But I mean, I think this is the optimistic thing that I think a lot of the models don't necessarily think, in that it's not a case that everybody has equal risk of spreading the disease or catching the disease. If you're somebody who works locally in a small town in mid-America, then there's a possibility you would never be exposed to the COVID virus. But if you're, say, a trucker who drives across the US, then you're potentially a super spreader, and B, you're really vulnerable because you can go to all of these little towns or things, stop off at you've got coughing away with your COVID virus. Every place you stop for gas, you're going to infect the staff. So you can see that, like, it's not level. Like, one person getting infected, it can cause, like, there can be some people who go everywhere, do loads of things, got massively active life, door-to-door salesman or somebody, delivery people, and but a lot of people are like, they've got very little interaction with the world. At the moment, I've got very little interaction with the world. I go to the supermarket occasionally, and that's it.
But you run into one person who is a super spreader, then that's how it starts spreading. So,
well, I mean, the other thing that's certainly in the UK, and I don't know about the US, is that the supermarkets, and they're very good now at, like, they're disinfecting. Well, not disinfecting, but they're using, like, they're cleaning everything. Like, so all the baskets are all cleaned, all the self-service machines have been cleaned all the time. So a lot of the places would have been where somebody would coughed onto a self-service machine in Tesco's or Sainsbury's or Walmart. Now it's been cleaned up. And it's probably covered with, like, this with the oil-based kind of hand sanitizer stuff anyway.
Our grocery stores are doing a very good job, at least the ones I've been going to. Again, they have the stickers on the ground. They have the one-way. In fact, because I don't look down, I didn't even realize our stores had mandated the one-way. You can only go down an aisle.
I think ours has got a one-way system, but I just totally ignore it. So
I didn't realize it, and someone yelled at me. So I looked down and I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm going the wrong way."
Yeah, well, what they have got is little queuing places, or not what you would line up, I suppose you would call it, in the queuing. You say line up for a queue in the US, don't you? That's another one of these different things. We say queue.
I'm queuing up.
But they've literally put. It's funny actually. Outside, they've got little stickers on the ground about where you queue for particular supermarkets and things. Little 2 meter wide lines. So yeah, I've totally forgotten the point I was talking about there.
You don't have to wear masks over there.
I think that. I mean, I think there's a lot of. I think it's very easy to be negative about COVID, but actually, there's a lot of positive things. We are actually both, even in the US, dare I say, even in the most casually non-socially distanced US state, people are way more aware of everything than they were before the COVID thing struck.
True. Okay, I have a question then as we close out. Tell me one positive thing that you're taking away from the past 3 months of lockdown, the past 3 months of us being introduced to an international virus. What is one positive that we can take away from this? And that's not to negate the many numbers of death, which is horrible. And I'm sorry for every loss, but what is something that we can take away from this current?
I'm tempted to say a mildly negative thing, but
no, that's not.
Well, no, a negative thing as in a positive thing, which is weird. In as much as I think there's an awful lot of people in Western society, especially, who have never had to face basically really anything particularly stressful in their life. Like no major kind of, because we are lucky, like death was a common part of like human existence for right until like even like 1950. I mean, I think antibiotics didn't exist until they weren't commonly available until about 1945. We had vaccinations for lots of diseases that killed like thousands of people, polio and also there's lots of illnesses that have been cured and were big killers of like people of all ages. And also the fact that all the wars that used to happen all the time, First World War, Second World War, Napoleonic Wars. So I think, and I suppose in some ways it's negative, but I think there's a lot of people, and I'm not being generational-ist here, because I'm not sure this is necessarily, it's easy to say all millennials haven't had to face very much. But that's not true. I mean, this is true for a lot of Gen X people, a lot of Gen Z. So even some baby boomers really haven't. I think it's good that a lot of people in society have had to face some sort of struggle and event, because I think it makes everybody stronger. I think a lot of people who had to go through the Second World War came out a lot stronger and better because of that experience. It's terrible as it was for everybody. And same with the First World War. And I think COVID will have a similar effect on society. I think it will make people much more, when things are back to normal, people much more thankful and grateful for what they've got, because they won't be locked down anymore and they'll be able to go back to a more normal life. Because I think you need that contrast between shitty thing and so that when you break your nail, it isn't the biggest tragedy you've had in your life. It's kind of like, oh, just broke a nail. Well, at least I'm not in lockdown. So I think it's like, it's a little bit of a negative thing to say, but I think that contrast will help society a lot, because people will have a common reference point for like when times were really bad, because not everybody has that. I mean, personally, I know you've been through a lot. I've been through a lot personally, and it does make you. I think it makes you a better person. It's the trouble. You don't want to be wishing the whole world bad so that it can feel better afterwards. But because it's already happened, we can say that there is a silver lining, in as much as people will have a better perspective on like what real hardship is.
For a moment, I think for a moment in time, we can say that humanity was in some capacity even in lockdown, and we experienced something tragic together, which is, like you said, we wouldn't ever want to celebrate that. But if we can come out more compassionate and kinder people, which I've been talking to James, my boyfriend, about this and reading a book called Humankind. And the whole preface to Humankind is, at the end of the day, people are inherently kind. And we don't see that in the news. We don't see that in the media.
Mm.
The projection is on what's going wrong and the worst of society. But the truth is, once we start digging deeper, humans are kind and humans are compassionate. And that's what keeps the human race going forward and moving forward. It's not the narcissists on top that keep us moving. It's the kind individuals, those of us just living day to day, spreading kindness and living life and wanting to help progress humanity forward. So I'm kind of with you on that. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say that I don't for one second think that lockdown has been even on everybody.
No.
Some people have really suffered from lockdown.
True. That's true.
I mean, it's a very different experience to be in lockdown on your own, to be in a lockdown with a family, and then there are people in like abusive relationships who are in lockdown with their partner. I mean, God knows how terrible that is.
Oh, that is true. We had a discussion, yeah.
And also, there's single mothers and single fathers who are struggling to homeschool their kids. There are people who are away from their partners or whatever it might be. People in a different country to their boyfriend or girlfriend, for example. I don't know who you could be talking about there. And there's all sorts of people and experiences. So it's not so much that everybody's felt the same level or the same thing. And there's also like there were people who are nicely looked down in that nice rural house in the middle with like chickens and a farm, and then there are people in the small, tiny bedsit flat in the city with no parkland or anything near them. That's a very different experience. But the point I was making is that everybody is going to have some baseline of worse experience than what they have now.
Exactly.
What they will have afterwards. In the future, when everything's all back to normal.
Yeah, a common experience that we can all collectively talk about.
Common reference point for it. At least it's not as bad as it was during lockdown. So
correct. Yeah, correct. Oh my, we talked about heavy stuff today, Tim.
Yeah, we managed to lose all our audience. So
we have to talk about these things sometimes. It's important.
Yeah, we have to talk about. If I can find the outro, we can close. Who are we? Oh, we got
TikTok.
We got Andrea. Is Andrew Smith?
Andrew Smith.
Should know the guest names. I'm just terrible at this. Andrea D. Smith, who is she's a Atlanta-based marketer, but she's gone from like 0 to about 10,000 TikTok followers in about 3 months.
Wow.
So, impressive. So we'll talk about TikTok on Tuesday.
Wow. This is all the rage right now.
We'll be down with the kids. So
thank you, Tim,
anyway,
for joining us. I think he's gone, but I'm going to thank him anyways because he always is a good friend.
Yep. So
bye, Tim.
See you on Tuesday, guys.
Bye-bye.